again to Title Talk. This is the show for people, buyers, sellers, real estate professionals. On this episode, I think we're going to do a little bit more of our talking with some questions and answers. Mm-hmm. We're going to help you kind of understand some title issues. Have you ever really struggled with title issues or understanding title? Well, stick around because I guess today we're going to
dive into that.
Yeah, we're going to give you a little info about it. We're going to give you a little insight to some commonly asked questions, and we are going to hopefully get some questions from our listeners as we've gathered some of these here today. So my name is Drew with Inspired Title.
And I'm Amy with Inspired Title.
And we are thankful that you guys are joining us here today on a chilly November morning.
It actually feels like November.
It does.
Fall winter is officially here.
Yeah, it's really a shame that we had those several days in a row of loving the 70-degree weather, and now
people
we're back
golfing
to
while other
some
people
reality.
were working.
Yeah, I don't know
awesome. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know who would ever do that. That's so terrible. We're gonna flip into a question and answer. And again, we open this up to you guys as well for us. Some of the questions that we have here today were derived from questions that you folks have asked us. And then we kind of added some of our own. And I think that there's a good variety here of questions that pertain to title and that pertain to the business. And maybe there's some things that we're going to touch on that maybe you guys think about as well or want to know. So why don't we go through this real quick and go through it.
Perfect. All right, Drew. First one's for you.
Yep.
Why is transferring title to real estate different from transferring title of other items, such as a car?
And that's an interesting question because a lot of people, when they hear the word title, that's exactly what they apply it to, mm-hmm. right? Is
100%.
A car. Going, a car title. When you sell your car, you're still transferring.
You're transferring title.
To a new
exactly.
owner. It is a little bit. There are some synergies there, but land title transferring is permanent. Meaning you can have so many owners through this thing. Mm-hmm. Think about what we tell everybody is the title insurance goes backwards from the beginning of time. From 1900, from 1800.
From the first email in
exactly.
1971.
Well, it goes way before. So we are guaranteeing that there are various rights that can be exchanged mm-hmm. throughout the years. So these rights are something that we are searching and researching to make sure that all of those transfers have taken place and are correct all the way through this thing. There's material rights, there's air rights, there's utility rights. Those are just a couple of those things that are in here. So by the time the end user gets possession of that, this thing's clear. All of those transfers have happened clear and clean. So, in order to do that, but that's what the title company does, is we make sure that this thing is done correctly and you're getting a clear piece of land unencumbered. And you're able to move on. A car title doesn't work like that. A car title is pretty finite. It has a beginning and an end mm-hmm. where, this goes back to, the beginning
forever.
of time and goes forever. So, very different there.
Interesting.
Very different there. So,
interesting.
Are you ready?
I am born
This
ready.
one is kind of a scenario.
Yeah.
And I think that this is applicable in today's world with what's going on out there. So the owner of the property I want to purchase has lived in the home for a short period of time. They had a title search done at the time that he purchased the property. Why would I need another one?
Okay, I'm going to read first and then discuss.
Yeah.
All right, because the owner could have, in that short period of time, done many things to encumber the title.
Big word.
Encumber, yes, big word. He could have constructed improvements that encroach on the neighbor, taken a loan, and used property as collateral. This is big. This is a lot of...
Yeah.
It's always important to conduct an up-to-date title search to uncover such issues. So let's break this down a little bit into these.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. So what is encumbering the title?
So any kind of a lien...
Encumber, what's like a synonym for encumber?
To lien.
To lien, okay. In case encumber isn't a
mm-hmm.
word that comes to you guys normally. So anything's to affect the title that
Negatively impact the title.
Negatively impact the title.
Right.
That's a good way. All right, so he
Right.
could have constructed improvements that encroach on the neighbor. So if he added a deck onto his house,
Right.
if he put a dormer on that bumped out onto, that's when you were talking to me about, that was a cool story about the drop
Right.
down the rope
Yep.
thing. So put a dormer on a house that leans over the neighbor's property, which is technically still the neighbor's property, even though it's connected to his house,
The boundary lines, you know,
are invisibly straight
well,
up.
just like the end zone, the
Yeah.
pylon. It goes up and around the world. I mean, so if your lot line is where it is on the ground, it goes aerial. So if that dormer extends beyond the aerial of what your lot line is, that's an encroachment.
They could
It's
come
an
with a
aerial
bulldozer
encroachment.
and take it off.
Yep. I mean, it could be a problem.
Taken a loan and use the property as collateral.
We see that.
Yeah, we
pretty
do.
frequent.
More so in these refis, I think, more
Yeah,
than.
that's a pretty common
Yeah.
occurrence. And go ahead, and you want to explain that to
It means that. So a lot of time, not a lot of times. Sometimes they'll sign these mortgages that say this property is not homestead.
Mhm.
So what that would mean is like I live in this house, but I also own this house.
Right.
So in order to take out a bigger mortgage on the house I live in, I put this other property down to say I can have more money because I have
More
this
value.
property.
Right.
Sorry,
No,
that
that's
was
good.
kind of a weird way
No,
of
it's a good
explaining it. I
explanation.
kind of
And
beat
you know,
it
I
around
think
the bush.
to just summarize
Yeah.
and simplify that a
Yeah.
little bit, it's you see this a lot in the flip market and with investors.
Mm-hmm.
They'll take all the property that they own and they will say, okay, that has a value and that value is X. Well, I want to buy this piece of property. So you can put a lien on all of these properties so that you
could-
get paid back, because all you got to do is sell them, so I can have the money to buy this one.
Mm-hmm.
So in that short period of time, the title search that was done maybe in this initial example that we speak, none of these things maybe took place. So
Right.
what the reason for that updated search is,
Mm-hmm.
he could have built a garage that now is encroaching, there's a fence, this is a deck, as Amy said.
And if a seller is saying like, "Oh no, it's fine," like
Right,
that's,
yeah.
that's when you should.
Probably not fine.
That's when you should like
Yeah.
kind of think twice. And so like we do part of the fees that we charge is called a later date search.
Yeah.
So like we will say this contract has been sitting for 3 months.
Mhm.
We're not allowed to sell or make that closing happen unless our title search is within 60 days,
60 days.
of that closing. So unless you can't buy and sell houses in days now, right? There's a
No,
there's
you
a
can-
law against that.
Yeah,
So
you
like
can contract the house, but it won't close then.
right. So like anytime you are purchasing property, you need a title search. Don't trust a seller, don't trust in anything. Like you need a most up to date commitment
Yeah.
on every transaction that you're involved in.
Yeah, don't
Don't trust anybody.
yeah, don't run without it. It's a good point.
Yeah.
Go on to question 3 then.
All right. The owner of a property has a deed. Isn't that proof of ownership?
I love this question, and without going into tremendous detail, because we can have an entire title talk just talk about deeds, but
We've had before. Go
Yeah,
back and,
and
look
we-
at our slew of
yeah, we did do a
million-
speak on just the different types of deeds
That was-
and what they do.
back in the old place, right? Like that was
Yeah, it might have
Yeah,
been
sorry.
right back at the original place, because we're in our new home.
new digs.
So a deed is just a document that shows the conveyance. It kind of memorializes the conveyance. All right. It's really showing the rights of ownership. Okay. It's not proof of ownership, and that's where
That's where the gray line is.
yeah,
the
that's
fuzzy
where this
happens.
gets to be a little bit weird, because the title insurance is the land, the title that parcel has been given. Okay, the deed is not going to tell you about any liens or any kind of encumbrances or any kind of hazards that are out there. The deed is going to go, yep, I gave what I rightfully own to Amy. Okay, great.
We have to all-
But if Amy doesn't rightfully own any of that, you don't have anything.
You have nothing.
So I can, for example, and we use this in the title world a lot, I can quit claim my interest of the Brooklyn Bridge to you.
So I own the Brooklyn Bridge.
No, I don't either.
I know.
But I quit claim, if I had a right to the Brooklyn Bridge, you would then have gotten it. But I don't. So what do I get? So remember, the deed is conveying the right of ownership versus the reality
The actual-
of what it is,
yeah.
right? So be careful in not getting caught up in the, well, I have the deed to this property, so I own it. Yes.
Kinda.
Did the person who gave it to you
Have it?
owned it? Did they own it?
Did they own
Did
it?
they have
Were
rightful
the owner?
ownership of
Right.
it? That's where it gets a little bit kind of gray.
That's
and
so
muddy.
scary, and that's why you need a really good title company to make sure
Yep.
that.
And this is, I mean, you can see the value of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the value of what your title company does for you is ensuring your rightful ownership to that parcel of land that is free and clear, and there are no other, liens or encumbrances, any negative impacts
Right.
on that property.
Right, and it's part of our job to like go back through all these deeds. Like lenders will ask for something called a chain of title, and that means that every transfer of this property happened the correct way.
Correct.
So that's our job. Like I look through these deeds to make sure there's no defects, there's no anything that the person who's actually conveying property can convey that property. So
Yep.
that comes with the title search.
Yep.
That's part of what you get.
Mm-hmm.
All right, got another one for you.
Okay.
How much could I lose if a claim is filed against my property?
Okay. And so that question is somewhat vague, and I think we set it up that way
Mhm.
for a purpose because, you could lose your entire home, and in the same breath as you lose your entire home, you could still be responsible to pay that mortgage that you have on the home that you no longer are in. Okay, I mean that's not common. That's not the typical. Okay, but when asked the question is what do I risk to lose? Yes, you risk to lose your entire home. Like I said, most cases are not that dramatic. In most cases,
Most are like a contractor's lien or
Yeah,
like
they're
a weed
smaller
cutting lien
claims.
or something like that. So
Yeah.
we've seen from $240 to like $1,200 is where your usual like
Yeah.
village liens are, and it can get a little higher.
well,
with-
if you have to knock down a garage
Yeah.
because of an encroachment on
Encroachment or
that,
something
that
like
gets
that.
to be more expensive. Now remember, the policy will cover that. The policy will cover the legal fees. Reimburse you for those
Yeah.
expenses. So you see the value of a title insurance policy at the time of conversations like this.
It's one of those things where you don't realize you need it until you don't have it,
That is correct.
and like
That is correct.
hopefully you will never have to use it.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
most claims are not that big, but
Right.
they can be, and
That's what we're here for and
We've
why you have
seen
to-
that process, and like I said, you can lose the home, and now I've got a $200,000 mortgage on a place that I'm not living. That kind of sucks.
And the crazy thing is, it's a one-time payment that like we have pushback on what the the rated card is. Like you're
I-
paying $2,000 for us to depending on the
Yeah.
purchase price of your house, but like
Yeah.
you're paying our company $2,000 to
Yeah.
for everything. Like, and it's crazy to me that we
Well,
get.
Yeah, because think about if a realtor is 6% and it's a $200,000 house,
Mm-hmm.
so they got 12 grand. The mortgage folks who are doing their job are probably making between 6 and 8 grand.
He's really good at numbers, so, if you're
So,
not following, it's
I
okay.
mean, the reality is we are so far on the bottom of that chain for the value of what we
Right.
do, because the realtors are gone.
Oh yeah.
the your lender is gone.
Oh yeah. Who's here?
Yeah. Hi, Inspired Title. I got this issue. Yeah. Guess what?
We're
here.
dealing with it,
And
yeah.
it's and for the cost of that, it's minimal.
It
but
is.
the value of it is
Huge.
maximal.
It's
I mean,
huge.
It really
Maximal.
is. Maximal. All right. So, Amy, here's yours, and the final question of
Got
our
it.
question and answer section is this: are there problems that a title search cannot reveal?
Yes.
No way! You don't say!
All right, so I'm gonna read and then we'll explain again.
Okay, great.
There are some hidden hazards that even the most thorough title search may not reveal. Example, the previous owner could have incorrectly stated his or her marital status, resulting in a possible claim by his or her legal spouse. Other items that are hidden might be fraud, forgery, mental incompetence, confusion due to similar or identical names. Any of these can arise after you purchase a property and jeopardize your right to ownership.
I mean, that is
Yes.
a mouthful of valuable
in
advice.
reality. So I guess the big one would be marital status to start with.
Yep.
So we've talked about deeds a lot, how you can either own in joint tenancy, you could have so-and-so married to so-and-so. We've had some weird deeds that was like, I can't even think of them off the top of my head.
Just most recently, think about the situation
So-and-so
where
married to so-and-so?
the two parties were, the title was vested in a gentleman's name, married to, and then another individual.
So
okay?
like the vesting of it, it was his name.
Right.
And the vesting was married to blah, blah, blah.
Right, and then another individual.
Mm-hmm.
So there are really two title holders: the person, and then the second person. The spouse is just who. It's just a mention of a name. So they got divorced. Okay, that individual who is the married party is not listed on title. They were just listed as married to.
It's so weird.
So guess what? They don't have any ownership to that.
Mhm.
So that stuff can be done and incorrectly. The big thing of this is the forgery. I mean, as a title search, we would never know that signature is not that signature. We don't have the IDs or any identifiable
Right.
way to determine if that was a forgery or not,
Right.
or if that was a fraud, or if that individual was incompetent. You know, they were forced to sign this, or they were not of sound mind and body to execute that deed.
Right.
You'd never know.
You would never know.
So those things come back afterwards.
Correct.
And the only way they come back is
If there's a problem.
right, and the
If-
parties go, wait,
I didn't.
this didn't happen right. Well, Amy, you did it wrong. No, I didn't do it wrong. How would I know?
There's some
You're
things that-
protected.
Yes.
Okay, you, as part of the title insurance policy, you are protected against those things.
Yes.
So, as great as she is at her job, as great as we are at what we do, it can happen.
There's some
and
things
it
that
does happen.
It does. Yeah.
It's
does.
not possible for any title examiner to say that they would be able to find these items that we just mentioned.
There is no way. The best person at this job would not be able to do that.
I mean, if you were to try to investigate if these deeds were fraudulent or not, you would spend hours upon hours and never get anything done.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the title insurance companies wrote in those different protections in the policy, because obviously these things happen, and they have happened. So they had to protect them. So rest assured, even though there are, room for error and mistakes can be made, you're protected as the insured party and your property is protected. So
Correct.
That concludes our question and answer part of
Another really
today.
fun.
But I hope it's helpful.
I hope it is, yeah,
I hope that you guys are
we shed
gaining
some
some
light.
knowledge from this stuff too. So that wraps up this week's episode of
This was a fun
Title
one.
Talk. I think so.
I'm really liking this group we're getting into.
Yeah, and I think that stick around for some.
Listeners are coming again.
Yeah, we are. We have a couple things lined up. A couple
Yeah.
folks scheduled with the holidays. And,
Holidays?
Yeah, the holidays. Make sure you head over to our YouTube and subscribe
Our
and
Facebook.
like us and share it.
Instagram.
Facebook, all of our social media
All of our
sources,
social media.
right? Be sure to catch next week's episode, where I'm pretty sure we're going to have a guest with us.
If we can convince him to.
That's going to be that'll be interesting as well. I am Drew with Inspired Title,
And I am Amy with Inspired Title.
and remember, with Inspired Title, no one can predict the future, but we certainly can protect it. So, guys, thanks so much for listening in, and we'll see you guys again next week.
Take care. We'll see you next week, guys.